Holy crap! Hey all, welcome to Circular Tone. If you're new here, I try and recreate famous bands, and I'm pretty much known as a thrash guy when it comes down to my actual style. This is a picture of me when I was a teenager, rocking the Beneath the Remains t-shirt, my mullet's in check, I've got a skull on my cabinet, a real human skull that they took from some sort of laboratory, probably biology lab. I was thrash. I lived it, I breathed it, I played it, and some people might be confused of, since I recreate famous albums, why haven't I done Sepultura yet? Or Sepultura. Welsh people call them Sepultura, so it's whatever. So this is a pedal company ran by YouTuber Sila Fernandez, and it's called the Mud Killer, and it's by Electric Eye Audio, and he started his own brand, and he's a YouTuber bigger than me, big in Brazil, a Portuguese language YouTube channel, right? So why am I using a pedal? I usually recreate things exactly. And the reason is because Sepultura, back then, there's so little information on what they used on my two favorite albums, which was Arise and also Beneath the Remains. It's like pulling teeth. There's a couple of pictures of his gear, of Andreas Kisser's gear, with a Marshall and ADA MP1s, and there's rain EQs on there, and this, that, and the other. But he didn't actually use Marshall on Beneath the Remains. And I always remember listening to it, and I'm thinking, that's not a Marshall. I always thought it was the ADA MP1, right? It's got that tone. I didn't think it was a Marshall that was producing the gain. I thought it might have been a Marshall that's actually, the bedrock of it, like this one. That intro tone you heard is basically a Marshall and a boost in front of it. But this is a boost with a difference, but we'll get into that later on. They had a tiny budget, something like $6,000 I think it was, because they did it in Brazil, and Morris Sound Studios was starting to kick off a little bit back then. They actually got Scott Burns to fly over the Christmas period. I'm not talking about, mid-December, actually for over Christmas. That's how cheap that they had to get this studio for in Brazil. I think it was in Sao Paulo. I might be wrong. So he flew over, left his family, brought over with him the amp that they used. So what did they use? Mesa Boogie Mark II. That blew my mind because it does not sound like a Mesa. But then again, I still think, and I don't have actual proof for this, I think it was boosted at least by an ADA MP1. I think they used that. They used the power section, much like Metallica did, to actually get their tone when it came to using the Mesa boogies. Like on Master of Puppets, Metallica used Mesa and Marshall. They used the preamp section of a Marshall through the power section of another amp of a Mark, I think that was a Mark II as well. So, very interesting. And here is a list of the gear that I know that they used at the time. So that's it. I mean, when it comes to me and Sepultura, I have so many stories. So wait till the end of this if you want to hear about my crazy Sepultura stories. But let's start. Let's give some props to this pedal. I want to show you what it does. Right. For my type of style, it's two things. I use a 6-string all the time. I hardly ever tune down unless I'm recreating songs where you specifically tune down. But it has on this knob, it has 6S, 7S, 8S. They stand for strings. So I have it set to the 6-string right now, because if I did even more, if you listen to this, that's reacting as if I have an 8-string guitar, so you can hear it gets really tight. And what that's doing is it's controlling the low end flub, because a lot of extended range guitars are really messy in the low end. And what this little guy does, everything's on 5. I got everything on 5, and I'm not like finessing things to make it sound better, so I've just got it set to what I think we would have used. Because I don't have an 8-string or a 7-string, and I don't down tune that often, I thought I'd set up the amp to be muddy. What I like about it, it's got pre-gain and post-gain. So these, the way that, because I have everything on 5, it's pretty gainy. What it does as well, which I like, it's called I think it's called an underdrive. You know, you have overdrive, which pushes the amp and the rest of it. This has an underdrive feature on it, which is really powerful, because a lot of the best tones you get are when everything's on 10 on the amp. Like if you see my Black Sabbath videos, things like that, where everything's on 10, the bass is usually on 0 because of the flub. You know, these famous bands, Lemmy had his bass on 0 because of flub. So what this does, you can put everything on 10, not literally, but you know, you can crank the amp and then kind of bring it back a little bit with the underdrive. So I don't have it set up for that right now, but it's a great option. And I'll show you some of the features. So you have the top left, you have the tone and the pre-gain and post-gain. It's hard to listen to tone changes when you have a lot of distortion, but with this you can. So listen, kind of flubby. That's the tone, and what you have is you have pre and post gain. So with the pre gain, you can bring that down for a different flavor, get more martially. So that's that with the pre gain down. I'll take the post gain down as well. It's not all the way down. They're kind of on two or three. And then obviously with more gain comes more responsibility. But let's try the gain, the post gain full and the pre-gain down. So you can play with it. You can play with the gain stage. So it just adds hair with those settings. So, and if you do the opposite way, so now I have a lot of pre-gain and hardly any post. Now it sounds like Death Angel. So fantastic pedal, man. congrats. It's got a comp button on there as well. That should be self-explanatory. I haven't actually messed around with the compression, but yeah, I love it. And you can actually bypass the pre-gain as well, but there's a switch on there, so it's good. I like hard bypasses because the less in the signal sometimes sounds really good. So that's it, man. Horns up to Brazil. We all know how crazy Brazilian metal fans are. So we have our pre-gain and we have our post-gain, and we also have our tone. So down here it's going to be a little bit more mellower in the high end, and then you can hear the top end open up the further you go. See, I'm not sure if you can see this, there's mud control, and you have fat and skinny. So basically fat there, it's going to take a lot less beef away, and the more you go up, the more skinny the low end gets. So I like that. So, but I like this, the references to 7 string, 6 string, 9 string, 8 string, sorry. So the pre-gain, you got the tone, these switches, so you can bypass the pre-gain with this, and also you have more and less, so that speaks for itself. You can see the diagram goes to the pre-gain, more or less, so that's, more oomph. And the comp, I didn't mess with this so much because I was using high gain. Okay, so right now I've taken the tone down a little bit, so it should be pretty trebly. And I have the post gain just about 6 and the pre-gain just a little bit less. The reason being, this guitar is pretty high output pickups. There's a reason I selected this. It's because it's a very thick sounding gainy guitar with a thick sounding bass rock sound. I actually put the bass on 10. I have a resonance mod on the back of this as well, so I have the resonance on full, so it's fully blown out. So that's why this is so good at Controlled in the Mud. With gain, so I still have my gain that I want if I want to play thrash. can hear a lot of string ring. I haven't blocked these off, so you can hear a lot. Kind of sounds like the start of a Sepultura. So pedals like this keep you honest. It makes you have to mute it. So great pedal. Yeah, it's cool. It looks cool too. I like it. It's very robust looking. So props, go check out his channel. I actually dropped it as well, so it actually still works pretty damn good. So yeah, underdrive, overdrive, wombling free. Now, let me tell you a story about the time that I, as a teenager, hitchhiked from Wales to London. When I was a teenager, like I say, actually, funny enough, that's the guitar I was playing in that picture. It's an old Tokai. There's a story behind that Tokai as well. I basically broke the law to get it. Didn't steal it, but I broke the law to get it. And I pretended I was 17 years old to get credit to buy that guitar. Breaking the law. I've never been in trouble with the police, right? I was a good kid, but it was actually the people at the store that told me to lie about my age so that I could buy it. So best thing I ever did too. Tokai, go check out the price of 80s Tokais and get back to me. So me and the drummer of my then thrash band, Season's End, that picture of me with a Sepultura shirt, he was playing drums behind me. Absolutely brilliant drummer. Phenom, still going. Hey kidda, what's up, man? So he and I decided to hitchhike to London to watch Sepultura. Not just Sepultura. They were going under a secret name. I think it was like Third World Posse or something like that. They were about to go on a leg of tour. I think it was with Megadeth, huge gigs, but they changed their name for one tiny gig in a regular pub in London. So I got wind of this on the underground and I was like, I have to go to this. So I bought a ticket and I was broke. We had no money. So we hitchhiked to London together. So we go down to the M4, which is like the corridor that goes from my country, Wales, all the way through to London. Okay. So I was from Swansea. So we, on the first little patch of the M4, which is a major highway, right? And we were just standing on the edge of this highway. The main edge where you get onto the ramp, right? So we go off the ramp and we're on the main highway. And we look around and we see a pink umbrella. Now, we had a plan. The drummer was about 18, maybe even 17 years old at the time. He was average height, long blonde hair, very skinny. So I went and hid in the bushes and he stood with his back to traffic with a pink umbrella over one shoulder with his thumb out. From the back, he looked like a hot chick, a hot blonde, long blonde hair and the rest of it. So when these guys would pull up, we got in London like that. When these guys pulled up and they saw him turn around looking like the Grinch, and then you have me, a big hairy fucking rugby player, running out of the bushes towards the car, you could see their faces drop. They were like, dude. So all these horny old men were picking us up like bang, bang, bang. We got to London in no time. Actually, one girl did pick us up. So we went up and we said, and she was like, I don't know, two guys. And we were like, dude, we get it. Don't worry about it. But then she coaxed us in. She was cool. So we got to London in record time, probably faster than if we'd actually caught a bus or a train. So we get there and it is the weirdest thing because back then, Metallica, people like that, they used to influence thrash kids. The thrash scene, the young thrash kids all drank because we kind of wanted to be our idols. So all of a sudden I was skateboarding, drinking, all these things that I'd never thought of doing unless I saw Anthrax and Metallica do it, right? Monkey see, monkey do. So everybody was drunk. I was drunk. Kidda was drunk. It was still daylight. The show wasn't even on. This memory always stuck with me, right? This little sleepy London village had about 300 maybe max metalheads. Not everybody could get in. I remember sitting on a bench with my can of Lager Lamotte. If you will get triggered with that. And I was sitting on a bench and I was looking at these old English greens, these sleepy villages, and I was just watching all these loping metalheads, like some of them skinny, some of them big, some of them, and they all had hair flying behind them as they were just running around. They were there was like, it was almost like chaos. They were so excited they couldn't contain it, and they were just running like all over the screen because it was, you know, the spirit of the time. It was the fucking weirdest thing, because usually you're in like a, you know, a parking lot and you're all drinking and, you know, there's a good atmosphere and everything, but this was different. This was carnival time for the underground, right? So we turned up into the venue super early, like, because it was a bar, so we were all in the bar, and then up comes Sepultura to the bar. I drank with Ego. We talked with Ego. In fact, we talked and drunk with him for so long, I was like, is he going to be able to perform? And we got him, because every time we were doing a shot, you know, because we all sneak in vodka and stuff, and we were giving him shots, and he was giving us shots. And every time we do a shot with him, I don't think, yeah, it was with Max mostly, actually. And so he would do a shot, and we go, Utse! It's an old, like, Welsh thing, where we don't know where it come from, but Uts! Utse! And slam it down. So then he started catching on, Max started catching on to this, and he was like doing it down in the shot. He went, Utse! And we were like, fuck yeah, this is amazing, you know. And then, so they get up. Max, they get up on the step, right? Because there's nothing. So he gets up on stage, the band gets up on stage, and we were like freaking out and the rest of it. And he holds up a full bottle of vodka, chugs about a third of it, and he goes, Utse! And all the Welsh people that were there went, Wah! We were like freaking out because he like embraced our little Swansea mannerism of what you do after a shot. And it was just legendary. I got chills. I got fucking chills just thinking about it. The little things that make you connect with bands, right? And that's what it was all about. And what happened then was an explosion. It was fucking insane. And to be honest, after that, I kind of blacked out a little bit because there was so much input. I was so drunk and the rest of it and into it. Sometimes when you get in a mosh pit, you just see red. And it's not like anger. It's like it's weird. It's the fucking weirdest. You just have to move. You can't stop yourself from doing it. And you get in there and all of a sudden, good, violent, friendly fun. So I don't remember much of the gig because of the pit and the alcohol and the rest of it. But holy crap, what an experience. And I've never seen, the bass player never gets any love. And I've never seen anyone headbang as much as him on that gig. You know, that's one of the things I remember. Even the drummer said to me, did you see him? He didn't fucking stop. I think it was because it was such a crazy atmosphere. And that was amazing, man. So what a way to see Sepultura live in a tiny bar at their peak, their fucking peak. I think it was for maybe the Arise tour. Holy shit, dude. It was amazing. But what a time to be alive, thrash, man. I've done videos on modern metal is dead and guitar is dying and the rest of it, and you just had to be a part of the scene to know the difference. You had to have been there. Now I'm here, you know, I've seen, probably in the past month, I've probably seen about 10 bands, right? And from the local level to the underground to the top, you know, to Slayer and the rest of it. And it's different. It's not the same, you know. It's old bands like Slayer are about to quit. They're propping up these huge festivals. And back in the day, Pantera was playing in front of 1.6 million people. Metallica were playing in front of 1.6 million people in Russia as a young band, you know. Where are these young bands that are propping up these festivals? There's none. These huge whacking festivals, look at all the headliners. There's Aussies, there's all these grandfathers. So the scene is dying. And Brazil, if you're watching, Brazil, there's a problem with metal right now, okay? And you are a little bit guilty of copying the old school German thrash a bit too much. And there is a thrash revival, and it keeps on regurgitating the German stuff or the Testament stuff, you know? I'm not seeing a lot of really original bands come out of Brazil recently. There's a lot of blackened thrash, a lot of copycat bands, and if you want to be an individual, try and embrace what the best aspect of your playing is, and focus on that, and don't try and recreate a Testament video with your white sneakers on and your black skinny jeans and the rest of it. It's like, don't copy the oldies. We have to start getting speed metal and thrash and metal back to the individuality, because Forbidden riffs didn't sound like Slayer riffs. Slayer riffs didn't sound like Megadeth riffs. Metallica didn't sound, well, there's a period where Overkill were trying to be Metallica, but they still couldn't because they had so much of their own thing going on. You know, they look, you know, the guitarist kind of tried to look like Hetfield, things like that. But as for playing style and the rest of it, he had his own thing going on, you know? And so that's what I worry about. I'm a bit worried about the scene. I'm especially worried about standard tune scene. You know, it's, if I hear another Tom Araya scream and another Blackened, it's like the underground is now mainstream. Because look at trending, you have black metal makeup fucking tutorials and you know, black metal Barbies, and it started to come where like things like grunge would be on the catwalk. It's become mainstream now. So it's time to move on from Blackened thrash. It's time to move on from the, you know, the new thrash, because it keeps on copying itself, and we have to come up with our own riffs, our own style, and still keep it angry, still keep it fast or whatever. Just make sure that you plow your own trail. So that is me getting off my soapbox, because the copycat shit is fucking killing metal, and we need to get out of it. Which is ironic, because I copy the mic techniques of famous albums. So for me to tell copycats it's gone too far is ironic. It's starting to really rain heavy now, so I better wrap this up, and I'll do some. I love this pedal, man. This pedal is great. Like, it's not even geared towards me to six stringers. It kind of is for certain things, as you know, like I say, with the underdrives, things like that. But there are times where I have too much oomph, but I don't want to move the needle because I'm feeling it. But then I know it's just going to blow up my mix if I keep it mic'd up the way it is. This little thing can give you as much gain, as little gain as you want. Minus, you know, it has underdrive on it, so that's awesome. And I like the 6-string, the 7-string, and the 9-string, 8-string aspect, because that tells you what it's controlling. It's controlling the low end flob. I love it. So great pedal. Sila, you knocked it out the park. I genuinely love it. People know me. I hardly ever push other people's gear. This might even be, you know, a first when it comes to checking out. Other YouTubers have come to me with offers, and I've usually said no because I don't actually need it, or I don't live in that world. It's not my speciality, you know, things like plugins, things like that. But with this one, I was like, hell yeah. I thought this is a perfect time for me to go over Sepultura. And why am I using this on Sepultura? Because I can't get the old, you know, Mark II. I can't get the old their gear. I don't have the BC Rich guitar that they use. I don't have the Charvel guitar that they used. I certainly don't have an ADA MP1. So it was always, that's the reason I didn't do Sepultura in the past. It's because I don't have the gear, and I want to do it justice, because the band is so important to me. I want to do it justice. So the same reason why I haven't done things like Voivod, because Piggy is such an idol to me. I have to do it justice. So for me to be able to use a fledgling Brazilian company to gear to promote, you know, an old Brazilian band, I just think it's perfect timing. So why not? So I hope you like the tone. That was like, my tone was purposely messed up to start with to make it too flubby, and this really controlled it, and it brought that sizzle and snark. And everybody knows me, I'm a treble guy, right? I love my treble, that sizzle, and that's what it got to me. Liquid gain with control. That is what people want. That is what people want. So go ahead, grab one of these, link in description. Silas, you're the man. Love your channel. If you like these types of vids, don't subscribe, do not like, do not hit the bell, because you don't. So why I ask. Also, my patrons of Tone didn't get any patrons between this and the last video, and that makes my heart sad. I don't know. Just subscribe, bitch.